I thought that we in North Korea were best off in the whole world.
Propaganda still worked. While little children died before their eyes, people were told that they lived in a paradise.
My father said, "Fatherland, what country is that? What a shit country." Those who made mistakes were prisoners. Those who made no mistakes were guards.
Two categories of people inhabited the world behind the wire.
Capital punishment is legal in North Korea and has been under the scrutiny of human rights groups for quite a long time. Many times these punishments take place in public, which, if true, makes North Korea one of the last 4 countries to still perform public capital punishments, the other 3 being Iran, Saudi Arabia, and Somalia. Horrifyingly enough, the most common reason for capital punishment in North Korea is viewing South Korean media. Forms of punishment in North Korea. Offenses punishable by the fatal penalty in North Korea include watching or distributing South Korean videos, drug-related crimes, prostitution, human trafficking, and obscene acts. The TJWG said the lack of due process in North Korea's judicial system meant it was difficult to know whether the charges announced actually matched the crime committed. The human rights group said, for example, charges such as human trafficking may have been applied to individuals helping people escape the country, while other charges may have been entirely fabricated. People are often sent to prison without trial, sometimes for trivial crimes such as listening to foreign radio, throwing away a paper with a picture of Kim Jong-il on it, or making an offhand remark deemed to have insulted the regime. One woman was arrested for disturbing the socialist order for singing a South Korean pop song. It didn't matter that she learned the song from watching a North Korean propaganda film. Sometimes people are arrested and imprisoned and they have no idea what they have done. North Korean law limits incarceration during investigation and interrogation to a period not to exceed 2 months. The period of incarceration, however, can be extended indefinitely with the approval of the Central Procurator's Office. The approval apparently is given quite freely.
Their faces are always swollen because of hunger.
There was no economy, no fuel, no work. Kang hasn't been to the camps, but he knows hunger very well.
It is not uncommon for individuals to be detained for a year or longer without trial or charge. During interrogation, at least through the early 1980s, there was strong evidence that prisoners were routinely tortured or ill-treated. Penalties for various types of crimes ranging from imprisonment, forced labor, banishment to remote areas, forfeiture of property, fines, loss of privileges or work status, and re-education to the capital punishment. With the exception of political criminals, the objective is to return a reformed individual to an active societal role. A common tactic to keep people in line in North Korea is to threaten to harm the families of potential lawbreakers or people that might do something the government doesn't like. Entire families have been imprisoned for trivial crimes against the state committed by one family member. Once, when a child wrote "End to Kim Jong-il," there was a long investigation and the child's entire family was sent to the prison camp. It is not uncommon for 3 generations to end up in prison for the crime of one individual, and nephews and cousins have been ostracized and fired from their jobs for the actions of a distant relative they don't even know. One North Korean woman told a news outlet, "If they find out I have talked, 10 generations of my family will be punished." Those punished often included cousins, nephews, grandparents, and in-laws. One of the most high-profile victims of this tactic and policy was the family of Sung Yi-rim, the one-time favored mistress of Kim Jong-il, leader of North Korea from 1994 to 2011, and the mother of his first son, Kim Jong-nam. Divorced, 5 years older than Kim Jong-il, Sung eventually became the potential palace embarrassment. The North Korean secret police imprisoned many of Sung's friends and family members for fear they would spread the word of the relationship. Those jailed include Sung's best friend, Kim Young-soon, who, along with her entire family, was dispatched to a concertina-wired gulag, where her parents, husband, and son perished. Experts say Sung became terrified of Kim Jong-il's fits of rage and fled to Russia, where she passed in 2002.
And North Korean propaganda in here. There's some North Koreans waving at us over there. This is a logging camp run by North Koreans. You can see there's a North Korean flag.
Yeah, we're going to their new camp where they're actually operating now.
He's in the camp. Jason's being shuttled back to fucking Pyongyang as we speak.
Right, so the camp we were at is done. Now this is the new camp, even further afield.
Right. They've actually moved here from the camp, the abandoned camp that we visited yesterday. So,
Is this the camp here?
Reported capital punishments. The South Korean-based Database Center for North Korean Human Rights has collected unverified testimony on 1,193 historic capital punishments in North Korea in 2009. Amnesty International reported that there were 105 fatal punishments between 2007 and 2012. The Foreign Policy periodical estimated there were 60 punishments in 2010. In October 2001, the North Korean government told the UN Human Rights Committee that only 13 punishments had occurred since 1998, and that no public punishments had occurred since 1992. On November 3, 2013, according to Jung-ong Ilbo report citing an unnamed source, familiar with internal affairs in the North who recently visited the country, at least 80 people were publicly punished for minor offenses. These were said to be carried out simultaneously in Wonsan, Cheongjin, Sariwon, Pyeongseong, and 3 other North Korean cities for crimes such as watching South Korean movies, distributing, watching, and/or possessing pornography, or possessing a Bible. The source said that according to witnesses from Wonsan, 10,000 residents were forced to watch when 8 people were machine-gunned to their demise at the local Shinpung Stadium. On December 13, 2013, North Korean state media announced the demise of Jang Sung-taek, the uncle by marriage of North Korea's leader Kim Jong-un. The South Korean National Intelligence Service believes that 2 of his closest aides, Lee Young-ha and Jang Soo-kil, were fatally punished too. According to unnamed sources cited by a South Korean newspaper, Jang's nephew Oh Sang-han was punished by being burnt alive with a flamethrower. Brutal forms of capital punishment. Torture, brutal punishments, and corpse desecration have been documented in a report on capital punishment under Kim Jong-un's rule. The investigation conducted by the Transitional Justice Working Group detailed a number of public capital punishments in the closed-off nation of North Korea. According to the group, many public punishments are not for slaying or physical exploitation, but for watching or distributing banned video content. The grim picture painted by the TJWG is based on the first-hand accounts of witnesses who were able to escape to South Korea.
Bigger kids and adults were out in the mountains digging for moles, rats, mice, frogs, and even rainwater. The streets were empty now. Once in a while a car passed. People from the party or the state.
When somebody squealed to the police, people would suddenly disappear at night. I've heard they ended up in prison camps. People had nowhere to sleep. In Wonsan, where I lived, there is a train station which is always open. The ones in high positions live well. They don't help anybody.
The orphans, who were too small, withered away and died.
A total of 23 public capital punishments have been recorded since Kim Jong-un came to power after the abrupt passing of his father in December 2011. 2 were hangings, and 21 people faced the firing squad. The TJWG believes the actual number of these punishments is far higher than recorded. Multiple witnesses reported horrifying cruelties and inhumane treatment of the accused before their punishment. Blood was splattered and flesh was tattered. The North Korean authorities folded the body of the person in half by stepping on it and putting it in a sack. I heard that they threw the sack away somewhere, said one witness describing the demise of a child. A third witness described the accused being tied to a wooden post with pebbles stuffed in his mouth during a public punishment in Sariwon in 2015. The same witness said the people organizing the punishment were heard violently cursing the accused and describing them as the epitome of social evil. In June 2019, the Transitional Justice Working Group released an unverified report mapping the fate of the deceased that suggested 318 sites in North Korea supposedly used by the government for public capital punishments. According to the NGO, public punishments have taken place near rivers, fields, markets, schools, and sports grounds. The report alleges that family members and children of those sentenced to their end were forced to watch their punishments. Amnesty International has alleged that torture and capital punishment are widespread in political prisons in North Korea. Unverified testimonies describe secret and public punishments in North Korean prisons by firing squad, decapitation, or by hanging. Capital punishments are allegedly used as a means of deterrence, often accompanied by torture.
Even if it was going to cost me my life, the only thing that interested me was the food. I blame them a lot. It's hard to express. After the death of my mother, I had an incredible hard time. I was beaten every day. I almost died.
Changes in policy. In 2021, North Korea changed some of the ways it carries out capital punishment in response to greater international scrutiny of its human rights, holding punishments away from prying eyes to stop information from filtering out. North Korea does not answer questions from foreign reporters or publish reports or data on its judicial system. Its state media rarely reports on crimes and the punishment of those convicted. North Korea has denied the existence of prison camps and accused the U.S. and its allies of using criticism of human rights as part of a hostile policy towards it. In the past, North Korea held punishments in villages and prison camps where crowds could gather, as a public warning, according to the human rights body Transitional Justice Working Group. But it had increasingly avoided public punishments in heavily populated residential areas, where authorities had difficulty keeping track of those attending. It had also stopped holding these capital punishments near its borders and at facilities that can be easily monitored by satellites, the group said. But North Korea had not given up public capital punishments. 23 of the 26 documented in the report were public, but it was more determined to ensure it could control who attended. This is a change of policy compared to back in 2016, when a defector, Kim Yong-soo, told Reuters he decided to escape after witnessing a particularly gruesome fatal punishment in 2008. He said, "Everyone has seen a public punishment in North Korea. On a day of punishment, all workplaces have to close and all schools, from middle and above, have to suspend lessons so that people can attend."
That something exists outside of that country. He didn't even know that the mastermind behind his miserable life was Kim Jong.
Right, so the camp we were at is done. Now this is the new camp, even further afield.
Right.
My father said, "Fatherland, what country is that? What a shit country." I was in a cell exactly like that.
Yeah, we're going to their new camp where they're actually operating now.
He quite simply thought the whole world was a prison camp. He didn't know that the country North Korea existed.
That's all for today's video. See you next time.